Welcome to Press TV's special coverage of the ongoing war on the Gaza Strip. As we speak to you right now, the death toll in the Gaza Strip is getting closer to 800. At the last count, it was above 780. Over 5,000 Palestinians have also been injured. The Palestinian rights group has estimated that civilians make up at least 80% of the death toll in the Gaza Strip, women and children bearing the brunt. And the UN, let's not forget, has said at least one child has been killed in Gaza every hour in the past few days. The situation there looking extremely dire. Valerie Amos there earlier expressing her concern of the shortage of food and water in the Gaza Strip. Let's cross over now to New York. Joining us via Skype is Rabbi Dovid Feldman with the Nuteri Karta International. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV, Rabbi Feldman. Now, I'd like to get your opinion, if I may, on the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza, where right now there's a shortage of fuel, a shortage of medicines, a shortage of food and water. And yet Israel says that any condemnation of its actions there is just atrocious.
Thank you very much for having me. The situation in Gaza, let me tell you, I visited Gaza twice with a delegation of Jewish rabbis since the siege. It was disastrous, it was terrible. At that time, we spoke about, as you said, gasoline and all these kind of lacking material. I think that now when we see these numbers of killed, murdered, and all of this, we're not talking only about food and about gasoline. We're talking about lives of people. This is terrible. You know, we are just running around the cities these days, these couple of weeks. There are masses of people in the United States, in Canada, and England, in Europe, and in Jerusalem who are outraged about what is happening. This really has to stop. And we always say, as Jewish people, as Jewish rabbis, we say, this is not Judaism. This is not representing the Jewish people. The state of Israel never represented world Jewry, and neither does it represent Jewish religion. This is not condoned by Jewish religion. This is wrong. This is criminal. This is anti-religious. This is anti-Jewish, and this has to stop.
Indeed, some of the most vibrant images that we've been getting coming out regarding the protests against Israeli atrocities on the Gaza Strip have been of Jewish communities across the world protesting against this. Although, let me cross over to Nablus. On the line with us is Abdul Sattar Al-Qasim with the Al-Najah National University. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV, Mr. Qasim. Now, I'd like to get your opinion, if I may, on the current situation as the bombardment of the Gaza Strip continues. The death toll we are reporting to you right now standing at 784. More than 5,000 Palestinians have been injured. The latest attack target was an UNRWA school. Mr. Qasim, are you with us on the line? Well, I apologize. It seems we're getting some technical difficulties there. Let me cross over back to Rabbi Feldman. Rabbi, when we're seeing places like hospitals and schools being targeted, and schools that too of the UN, with the excuse that Hamas is hiding rockets underneath them, how do you respond to that?
Well, we can just say that what is happening is not happening. This is not a religious war. People think that this is simply because we have difference of religions. This is a political movement which is wrong, not only from now. If we would start to criticize Israel for what they're doing now, there might be many excuses that we can sit down and deal with. We're talking about decades of occupation, which is wrong. It's a crime against the Palestinian people, and is criminal according to Jewish law. We are forbidden to do all of this. The Torah teaches us mercy, compassion, and feelings to others, besides the point that Jews lived in Palestine, and we are to be thankful to the Palestinian people. We lived in peace, and we hope that this political movement should be put aside, and we should be able to live in peace in the future. We don't need a state of Israel to protect the Jewish people, and we don't want a state of Israel to endanger the Jewish people. Put aside all these tragedies, terrible, bloody situation we experience now in the Gaza Strip.
Well, but Rabbi Feldman, who speaks up for the Palestinian people, though? Right now we're seeing the UN Human Rights Council finally condemning Israel's actions with regards to Gaza. However, the UN Security Council, which could have had some sort of impact, failed to produce any concrete results. Do you think that the international community has failed the people of Gaza?
Well, there's definitely a lack of sympathy here. People should really understand what's happening, and there's much of information that is not being distributed to masses of people. We have to start to realize and to see really what is happening. We need to have the right channels to feed us and to educate us exactly what's happening on the ground. And as people, we can change. We can change the situation, and hopefully, if the general public would really understand what is happening, the governmental level and all of that will have to change one day. We hope this will be very soon, because we can no longer stand silent. We can no longer tolerate this untold numbers of casualties, murdered people, and injured, and people homeless with no roof over their heads. This cannot be tolerated no longer.
All right, now I'm being told Abdul Sattar Qassem is back on the line with us. He's with the Al Najah National University, and he joins us on the line from Nablus. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV, Mr. Qassem. The death toll right now, as I speak to you, is at least 784. It's inching closer to 800. 80% of these are, of course, civilians. Now, what do you make of the reaction so forth that has come from the international community? The Iranian president, Hassan Rouhani, did criticize the international community, saying that its response has been disproportionate when you compare it with the atrocities that are being committed against the Palestinian people in Gaza.
Yeah, it depends upon what international community you are talking about. Now, I think what you mean is the colonial countries, the United States, Britain, the Western European countries. But if we want to talk about the real international community, we should talk about the states that are represented in the General Assembly of the United Nations. We should depend upon the General Assembly for the decision of the international community. But as we talk about international community now, we are talking about the colonial countries that sympathize with Israel, that support Israel against the Palestinians. And if you see that the Israelis have been bombing and damaging and destroying by American-made warplanes. It is the Americans who have been supplying the Israelis with these destructive toys. And now they are talking about humanitarian values. They are liars and hypocrites. The Americans should not interfere in this situation. If they are serious, they should stop supplying Israel with all military equipment. We, the Palestinians, who should be supplied. But anyhow, these forces are not going to break our backs. We are strong enough. We will defend ourselves. And it is Gaza who decides now. It's neither Washington, nor Cairo, nor Riyadh. It is Gaza. We are strong enough to defend ourselves. It's true that we don't have the destructive tools that Israel has, but in the future, I am sure we will be able to develop these tools so that the Israelis will never dare to attack the Palestinians. And I want to say something about those who are weeping or crying about the Palestinian blood. The siege that has been imposed on Gaza killed more people than this war. And the Egyptians and the Arabs killed Palestinians who were unable to go to the Arab hospitals to have certain kind of medicine or medical operations. So the Arabs have been killing us, and now they are crying about the Palestinian blood. That is hypocrisy. We are dying now defending our own country. So if they are sympathizing with us, they should lift the embargo. They should lift the siege and let the Palestinians have a free movement. But unfortunately, these Arabs, together with the Western countries, are allying with Israel now against the Palestinian resistance. But I think the Palestinian resistance is strong enough to stay there and to bring the Israeli endeavor into a failure. Yes.